Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm back for once. I wasn't here for the last anticipated releases. Kind of. I was here post-commentated, I guess, but now I'm here presently. I'm Mike, and I'm also with...
I'm Nick.
And Travis.
Yeah, the gang is all back. It's actually been a long time since we've recorded.
I know.
But...
I miss it.
I do, too. I'm glad we're together again. November, though, is kind of a slower month, you could say. There's a couple, big releases that we're going to touch on, but... For the most part, we weren't as excited. I think we say that also because last month was so big.
Yeah,
that,
well, we've been spoiled the past 2 or 3 months, so...
Yes, we have.
I don't even think
this... E3.
Pretty much. But that's why I don't think this month is necessarily small. I think it just feels small because we've had some, humongous months coming up. So, I don't want to waste any more time. Does anyone want to start with theirs?
I think you or Travis should go first.
All right, well... You want to do it, Travis?
I can go first, yeah, because I feel like I usually don't, for whatever reason. Okay. So the first game I'm going to talk about is usually games that I try to avoid because it's a re-release or post-release. But Diablo 3 is coming out on the Nintendo Switch, which I don't think I will personally be getting, but I have put 370 hours into the game on my PC, so I have played all the characters a crap ton of time. And if you've never played it, I highly recommend it. I have a lot of fun. You can do a bunch of crazy crap with it. If you want to make the crazy builds, then you can look them up and see what all you get to upgrade yourself to. But, it's always fun going in and just killing Satan.
It's a great old time.
Very basic idea. Just kill Satan.
It literally is. That's the second to last main boss, and then... in this one, it's the Angel of Death is the main one, Methiel. It's pretty fun. I also played a crap ton of Diablo 2, but I don't think that'll ever be coming out in any other game, even though I liked that tree better. I was super happy because they did bring my favorite character from Diablo 2, being the Necromancer, into Diablo 3, because I always loved running with an army of skeletons, which you were able to get a lot more in the second one. But it's still fun because you get to command them to do stuff. And then there's also the Crusader, Barbarian, Witch Doctor, Wizard, Demon Hunter, and I feel like I'm missing one more. Monk. So they all have very different fighting styles, so you get to figure out which one you like to do best. I personally like either the Demon Hunter or Witch Doctor, or the Necromancer, since that just came out. Because I have 90 hours in both the Witch Doctor and Demon Hunter, and then 60 hours with the Necromancer, even though he's been out a crap ton less time.
Yeah. And
then the Barbarians and them, just kinda.
Well, I'm curious, Travis. For Diablo 3, is it when do you actually choose which path you want to go through? Do you choose straight at the beginning?
Yeah, you choose the character that you want to use right away, and then
okay.
Can
you switch them?
Yeah, and you can always change your character. You'll go back to level 1, but then as you're playing, you get to unlock all the different abilities, and that's kind of more where you branch out in what style you want to go. Because the Demon Hunter, there are 2 really popular builds where one is the multi-shot, where you kill literally just armies at a time of the demons, or you can just have the Assassin Demon Hunter, and you literally just one-shot bosses, and
damn,
both are very helpful for different reasons.
Well, I'm a sucker for a class system or a job system, so sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I've put a lot of time into it. I've kind of stopped playing it just because nothing new has really come out since the Necromancer patch, and I don't know, it just got repetitive and I don't feel like doing it, especially because usually when I play, my friend Robbie likes to rush you into becoming max level, and then you're just grinding to get the best items. And
hey, that's somebody who's focused on gameplay. We like story here as
well,
Travis.
So that's why
I know Robbie does it.
Me and CJ actually
skips the cutscenes in freaking Octopath, and he only did the gameplay. What's wrong with you, Robbie?
Well, you haven't actually played that game yet, right?
I haven't yet.
Oh my
no.
God, you need to.
Oh, trust me, I will. Good. I already have it bought. It's going.
I know. Get on it.
All right. Well, maybe Mike is going to let me off this hook with his next game he's going to talk about. Like that segue?
Well, before we go, not to cut off your segue, One of the cool things,
I almost got it.
because I was looking at the price on it, and it made me sad that it's $60. But I did see some cool stuff that you can actually get Cuckoo from Legend of Zelda as a companion
cool.
pet.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a lot of like cool like Zelda stuff in it. There's like a Triforce portrait frame. There's like Ganondorf's armor that you can wear. There's a lot of like cool stuff like that, and I'm like, I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting.
And
that's a good way to like bring it to the Switch and give it its own like Nintendo feel to it. I like that.
Yeah, and then they also were coming out with the Switch bundle where the dock is actually like decored with Diablo stuff. I didn't take a like big look at what that was since I'm not gonna get that one because I already have a Switch. That'd be just really stupid for me to get. But it looked cool because it makes the dock look more interesting and personalized.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Take what you can get.
Yeah, so if you don't have it and you're interested in Diablo, I recommend picking that up because it looks cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to jump into my release. And I'm actually going to do 2 games at once here because I'm not going to talk about either one for a super long time. And I know Nick only has one, so I'm going to try to balance it out just by doing 2 games in the time of 1 game, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start with Overkill's The Walking Dead. The reason I wanted to talk about this game, first of all, there's a lot of Walking Dead games out there. There's a lot of games titled The Walking Dead, actually. There's like the Telltale game. I forgot what the other one's called. It's the Survival Instinct game, which was like actually somehow sponsored by AMC. So they've done a lot of stuff based on The Walking Dead. That game actually had like characters from the TV show and the comics, which is interesting. This version is Overkill's version. This is still based on Robert Kirkman's comic book series, so it's kind of like that. But this one feels a lot more like Left 4 Dead. Well, actually, I don't know if Left 4 Dead is the right word. It's more like Dead Island or a game like that. It's a 4-player co-op first-person shooter game, but it's not like a linear pathway Call of Duty is. It's more like you're exploring this environment in this world. The characters' names are Aiden, Heather, Maya, and Grant, none of which are actual characters from the TV show. So from what I've seen, I don't think there's overlap as far as characters go. I think it's just the same setting, which, you know, take that for what you will. If you like the show, you'll see the setting, but you're not going to see any characters. That I know of. I could be wrong about that. But the game looks nice. Yeah?
So before you move on to the next thing, I'm not sure if you are. So what's Walking Dead about it then? Like, it's got the title. What is it? Is it just the setting? The setting is the only the situation that they're in. That's the only part that's Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's honestly what it seems like to me. I mean,
okay, I was just curious.
I could be wrong. They could visit areas like, you know, Negan's sanctuary situation that's on in the show. I don't know like how much they're planning on going into that, but from what I saw, and granted, I didn't do a lot of research, so, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt, but it seemed like they were just kind of exploring an environment. It just seemed like a template environment. And honestly, it just seems like they're kind of using the name for, you know, to promote the game, which ironically
that's what I was curious of.
But it doesn't seem like it would work because there's like 4 other games with the same name. Like, you think it would work better if they chose a unique name for their game, you know? But
I would agree.
I don't know. If you type in The Walking Dead video game now, you're going to get like 10 different game results. It's like, I don't know. It's just going to get lost in the crowd at that point. But whatever. So I don't know if this game's going to be good or not. You know, I'm not promoting this because I like the sound of it. I like 4-player co-op games. I was telling Nick before, those games suck on your own because it's just kind of an empty, bland world. But games like that are so fun to play with friends because you just goof off and do stupid things all the time. So, but that's also a cheap way to make a game good. So it's hard for me to give the game credit for, you know, a game where you can just do stupid stuff and, you know, that doesn't make a game good. But we'll see. The graphics look good. I like the trailers I've seen. You know, I don't know how I feel about it. So I'm just going to jump right into my second game here, too, and that is Hitman 2. For those of you that know, a lot of what I want to talk about is kind of the controversy of the first game. The first game was like a season type thing where the game wasn't really released all at once, or it was, but they sort of just push stuff later on in the game as well. That just sort of adds on to like make a complete game in a way. It's kind of weird the way it's done. It's not really episodic, but the game was released in episodes, if that makes any sense at all. It's not like a start to finish story. It's more like they just release different scenarios as the game goes on, which was kind of weird. A lot of what the game was kind of felt like a cash grab. It did have a lot of microtransactions and things like that. So that game felt kind of weird, and the problem was it never went on sale.
My favorite part about games, man.
Yeah, well, because the thing is, I really wanted to play it because the concept of the game is awesome. It's you're a hitman, right? So your whole goal is to kill your target, and the idea of this game is it's just supposed to give you an environment, makes up a target, and you can do whatever you want to take out the target. And there's so much creativity with it that it sounded awesome, but I could never find it on sale. It was always full price, and just with the little money gouging things, I never got my chance. I own it now, but it came out like years ago, you know, and I finally was able to find it for like a $15-20 deal. I'm hoping this game isn't like that. The first game was creative. but it was limited in how it was created, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That kind of, I can kind of see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. To describe it better, it's like it made you think you were being creative, but you were really doing it the way the game wanted you to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it tricked you into thinking you were picking your own path. This one, though, apparently has, like, more sandbox modes. The two maps that were shown off already were Miami and Colombia, which are two pretty cool places, I would say. And it makes sound like there's a lot more creativity. There's a lot more ways you can take out your targets. The way targets will act and react to things is going to be completely different. So it sounds like they're trying to expand on it. I know they're still going to do, like, the exclusive content, like, the later down the road. And I'm pretty sure from what it sounds like, they're still going to do some thing like this season aspects. I'm not too sure, but I wouldn't mind it as long as there's more in the base game, if that makes sense. I want to buy it day one and be able to do a lot with it. As long as I can do that, it looks good. Hitman is an incredible idea that was just implemented pretty badly, so hopefully this one turns out good, but we'll see what happens. So those are my first two.
That was I would have to agree. Like, it's just, I feel like there's just so many games that really have such potential for them, and they just kind of come up short in that way, just because of the fact that, like, they're trying to nickel and dime you, and that really hurts the I don't know, it just hurts the experience itself. And I'm with you. Like, I'm hoping that, like, again, it's something that I hate to see in so many games that have potential, they can do really good, but then they're just like, I don't know, just the greediness gets to them, and it's just annoying to see. Like, make it not affect the gameplay, and that makes it better. I mean, like, if people want to spend the money, they will, and you'll still get the people who are whales and they'll spend a lot of money like that. But otherwise, like, you're not hurting the potential your game has.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We can talk about that in a different time. But anyway, I thought it looked interesting as well. But either way, mine that I'm gonna be talking about is no surprise whatsoever. I'll just say it. It's Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee.
Hey! Well, those are two different games.
Coming to Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, come on, pick
one,
buddy.
Travis? I'll choose Pikachu then. You talk about Eevee, I'll talk about Pikachu. Deal?
I mean, that's actually the one I would want, is Eevee.
Yeah.
I'm talking about my game, damn it. Anyway. But yeah, so this one is probably the biggest release, especially if you're a Switch fan or especially if you're a Nintendo fan. Because the base game it's a remake of Pokemon Yellow. And they basically are trying to go back to the basics of what everybody loved. So they had remakes already for Red version and technically green version, not really a blue version at all. So of the original Gen 1, because I think it was red and green version in Japan and red and blue in America. But the one that really doesn't see as much love is Pokemon Yellow. Pokemon Yellow, which would be Pokemon Pikachu in this case, is actually getting the treatment of getting this remake. So in that kind of fashion, they actually have a couple things that's really cool about Pokemon Eevee and Pikachu. Is the Pokemon falls behind you as well, which I always love that. I always think that makes it a more fun journey with your Pokemon. It actually makes it seem more fun than just them kept in their Pokeball and only brought out to battle. But the one divisive thing that I'm sure we're gonna be discussing a lot when this game comes out, or you're gonna hear people discussing a lot, is the way that you capture Pokemon. Usually Pokemon has been pretty basic since the beginning of its days on how they do it. 4 moves, turn-based battling. It's basically what it's been. You can throw in double battles, triple battles, rotation battles. There's a lot of different things that they've done. They also have done like reverse battles, which I thought were really cool, where moves that aren't that are not very effective are super effective, and like vice versa. I thought that was a really cool way to do so. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's they can try to mix up the battle formula and whatnot, and they've tried doing it with Z moves and Mega Evolutions, but catching the Pokemon is probably going to be the biggest difference, because now they're actually doing it where it incorporates the Pokemon Go app, where you can actually like trade Pokemon from Pokemon Go and bring them into the game itself and everything. And for me, I was just like, that's a great idea. I never use Pokemon Go, but that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a really cool way to merge two massive worlds, because it's just like Pokemon Go, obviously people talk about how the huge phenomenon that it was, and Niantic knocked it out of the park with this game too. I was super excited to see it. I never actually started playing it. I know, call me a hypocrite or whatever, but I was super excited to see it, and I was happy that it did well. It got people active. It almost like brought about world peace for like a couple weeks after it got released, honestly, which is crazy. And people are still playing it today. And now it's almost going to be able, like, hey, you want that? Let me bring you some history, and let me show you like the Gen 1 version of this game. So I like the fact that it's merging two worlds, but capturing the Pokemon that's had that system since like Gen 1 is gonna piss some people off. It'll make a lot of people happy, because then it matters with Pokemon Go, and you can bring the Pokemon that you meet on your journey into the game itself, which is super cool. But I know people are going to get mad at that point, and that's one thing that kind of got me like a little shaky about it. But before I go into some of like the minor things that I saw, what do you guys think about that?
I'll start off by saying that I don't think people have a right to be upset about the catching mechanic because they already said that this is technically a spin-off game. This is not a main series game, you know? So it should be treated in the same vein as Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, you know? It shouldn't be treated in the same vein as Pokemon Sun and Moon. So it's not like they're changing their... Yeah, so they're not changing their catching mechanic. They're just doing something different for a spin-off title, you know? So, like, I think... Usually people get upset because they're worried, like, why would you change something that works? But it's like they're changing it because this is a Pokemon Go game, right? This is more supposed to be in line with the Pokemon Go app than it is with the Pokemon main series. And Pokemon Go catches Pokemon that way. So, if anything, this is being consistent with what it's trying to be. So the catching mechanic doesn't bother me. If normal games were like that, it would bother me. Because I feel like there's slightly less strategy this way. But since this game is basically just like a big accessory or like add-on for the Pokemon Go mobile app, it doesn't bother me. You know, it's trying to combine those two together, and so you want consistency between the two, if that makes sense. It
also seems like they're kind of buying time until the next like mainline series game gets announced, and this is a perfect way to hold people over.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So Travis, do you have anything to say about this game? Because I know this is probably one of the biggest releases, especially because we're the Nintendudez. So if you want to say anything before I talk about some little minor details.
So yellow version is... I always debate whether I like yellow version or like silver gold as like my favorite Pokemon game. So I was super excited when I like learned that this game would be like a remastery of it, and then all the different like riding on an Onix throughout town, that looked freaking amazing. I was super stoked. But then when I saw that it was like the catching mechanic instead of like training, I was really bummed out because I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be surprised because they said it was going to be the spin-off.
Battling, so you can still battle like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Like, I know you can battle in the general, like, against trainers, but were you able to actually kill all of wildlife as you know it?
Oh, I'm not sure if you can actually level up that way. That's a good point.
Right.
I don't know.
Because that's why I don't want to go out and like literally catch every single freaking Weedle I find in there just so I can have my Pikachu or Eevee be a high enough level to beat the Onix of Brock. Like, that would piss me off if literally half of my PC are just full of useless Caterpies and Weedles I don't want. So I don't know how that system will work, or if it's kind of like in the Pokemon Go where if you you can make them all into candies and level them up or whatever. I don't know. But I'm so curious how like that system will work, because
I'm with you.
I don't know. I just haven't seen enough. I'm still on the fence of getting it because it is yellow version, and then like I love how they got rid of HMs and like you just have either Pikachu or Eevee do something in order to do it. Like Pikachu rides a freaking surfboard to use surf, which is hilarious and awesome.
Yeah, it took way too long for them to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah. So that all that stuff looks awesome. It's just the like I don't know about training your Pokemon for the next thing, especially because I've also heard that like this game does actually get a lot harder later, and I don't know if because the training your Pokemon is different, if that plays an aspect of why it's more difficult later.
Yeah.
So I'll see how reviews are, and then I might get it later, like for Christmas or something. But I definitely am not pre-ordering it because I have too much.
Yeah, I mean, I will say too, I think this game might honestly be more true to what Pokemon should be than the main series. I know that might be a minority opinion, because this one seems more about caring for your Pokemon, growing the relationships, you know? It seems less focused on fighting. So I get what you're saying, you know, and I do have reservations. I don't think this one will be as fun to play as the main series. But my view on this game is I see it as just a different way to play a game we've already played, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
it's like
definitely
saying
what
you've gone on this adventure, and now look at it through a different lens. Exactly. Do it more about caring about your Pokemon, you know? So it'll be different. I think they're doing a good job of it. I just think, you know, it's going to be hard for us to alter our minds, but, you know.
Yeah, I think you're right. If it's very more true to the message of what Pokemon stands for, and like especially what like the show promoted, rather than what it usually is when you do is like, oh, I'm going to pick up the most powerful Pokemon and blast my way through gym leader after gym leader, then beat the Elite Four and become the champion, rinse and repeat. So even though it's a very satisfying thing to do, it's like, well, think about this. Like, go outside. I know, crazy the outside. It's scary.
The sun is out there.
Find some Pokemon.
Never heard of it.
Catch some Pokemon, and then like bring them in and like have it where like you actually found the Pokemon on your own instead of like sitting on your couch and doing whatever.
Right.
But yeah. But either way, so a couple of other things that I mentioned before. I think I mentioned this about like when we saw it in like the E3 build. Another thing that was really cool about it is that gym leader fights are finally gonna be like more entertaining. Where it's just like how like the Pokemon anime had the giant arenas and like you're battling, like you see the person on either side and you're battling like that. And there's like there could be people in the audience watching, and I think that's what is finally giving a cooler like experience for a gym leader fight. Because usually the gym leader fight is just 1v1 fighting. Maybe you see like the background change in some of the newer games or anything, but nothing to that scale where it actually feels like you're actually fighting for a gym leader badge. And it's not just like you versus the gym leader. Like people can come and watch you and stuff like that. I love that. I love that take on it. Otherwise, the game looks fantastic. It looks gorgeous. It looks bright. It looks colorful. That I'm not even worried about because I feel like they're going to hit it out of the park there. And there was like one other thing that I saw that I like really, really liked. Maybe it's just the fact that a Venusaur was following you around and he had a really derpy face, but I don't know. It was really cool. I don't know. Like in terms of like the graphics, I think it's going to be a very amazing experience. And there's like expert trainers that you can run into and whatnot. Overall, in terms of like a Pokemon game, I think it will be very cool. I'll be straight up honest, I'm not going to be getting it, but then again, you guys know about why that there's a couple other games that I'm going to be knocking off my list that is going to have to take a Pokemon is going to have to take a backseat for.
Yeah. I have a question for you and Travis. Because you're not going to buy it, so I know the answer to Travis's question, but to Travis, I have a question too. For Nick, because I know you're big on the money thing, how do you feel about that Pokeball controller? Because then Travis, I was going to ask, what are the odds that you're going to buy that little Pokeball thing that the game comes with?
As of right now, there's no way in hell I would get that Pokeball controller because, well, first of all, I don't think Mojo will accept that isn't his ball. And I would hate to have to keep rebuying these dumbass plastic Pokeballs just because he keeps eating all of them.
That's a good point.
Like, I'm having a hard enough time having him stay away from my Starlink stuff.
Yeah.
But then, like, the controller itself just doesn't look, like, comfortable. Like, it's really, really tiny.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I don't know how I would, like, with my big man hands, be able to, like, hit the ball right and also, like, make the throwing motion to catch the ball without just accidentally chucking it across the room or just dropping it out of my hands.
Yeah, I feel like you would get hand cramps pretty easily with that.
So I'll probably stick with the Joy-Con myself. Like, I might buy one just for the sense of, like, oh, this looks cool. I'll put it next to, like, my Starlink ships.
Yeah.
Of just, like, making a Colossal, and then, like, if I ever make an Amiibo army, it will just be in the middle right next to Pikachu and Detective Pikachu.
There you go.
But other than that kind of sake, no, I would never actually use it, I don't think.
Gotcha.
I'll just say this, Mike. It's an interesting idea. One thing that I do have to talk about before we end the discussion on Pokemon Let's Go, because it's probably like our biggest release, that I forgot to mention is its co-op.
Oh, that's
co-op
right.
Pokemon game. That's an awesome idea.
The only thing the person does is throw the Pokeball, right?
Would be so legit. Sorry, you go.
The only thing the co-op person does is throw another Pokeball, right?
No, they can battle with you, I'm pretty sure.
They can battle and stuff with you?
I mean, you walk around the world with them, too, from what it looked like.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
because, like, the only gameplay I've seen of them using the co-op, or at least during E3, was always, like, they're just sitting next to them also throwing a Pokeball. And I'm like, well, it's hardly... It's kind of like saying Mario Odyssey is co-op in that, like, you're Cappy, but you're not actually really doing anything as Cappy.
Right.
You're just spinning around killing things.
Travis?
Yes?
We have a change of thought now. I'm going to get this game, and we're going to have a competition who can catch more Pokemon. Me versus you. Let's do this.
Okay.
All right, cool. I got
Damn.
it. Well, either way, no. I think the co-op thing's cool, though. I'm pretty sure you can battle. We might fact check that later.
Yes, because if you can do more than just throw it, I am very excited about that, because when I heard that it was co-op, I'm like, awesome! I no longer have to, like, do that wire transaction, because that's how old school I am with Pokemon co-op battles, where you actually had to get that long wire and connect your Game Boys, and go into the top level of the Poke Center, and...
Travis, we have other games to mention.
Okay.
It's actually your turn,
Who
Travis.
wants to go with one of theirs?
I could talk about the second one of mine. I'll be honest, I did not do that much research. I literally watched the trailer, and I'm like, that game looks really cool. Darksiders 3, the Force Fury something. So I played Darksiders 2 on the Wii U, and that game was super fun. You played as Death, and then I'm pretty sure this is the different. Was Darksiders 1 also Death, or was that a different horse rider?
That's a good question. I think it was Death too.
It was also Death? Okay, so they're changing characters into Fury for this one?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew that Death was second, and I know this one is Fury. She runs around with a giant sledgehammer, and then there's also this whip that is pretty freaking amazing. She just looks badass as hell, and I love it. I just love how this game plays like Assassin's Creed, but there's a lot more puzzle making in it than Assassin's Creed ever did. It was kind of just like climb this wall, assassinate this person.
All right, here comes Mike's defense.
Put him down. I love the Assassin's Creed series. I don't want to poop on it. I enjoy it a lot, but like Darksiders 2, at least I felt like there were a lot more like different type of puzzles than Assassin's Creed had, where you just kind of stalk people. Like it was much more mission focused than like, oh, here's like a general idea, and then you're gonna come around these random obstacles that you have to get creative in how to solve them.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I won't disagree. I mean, the new Assassin's Creed games I think are a little better with that, but yeah.
Probably. I haven't played
in the middle.
I haven't played an Assassin's Creed since 3, so I've been out of the loop.
I would say the first 3 were especially bad about that, so I got no complaints.
So the ones that I'm thinking of, that's where I get it from. Yeah. So I'm hoping Darksiders 3 continues in that realm of that, like it's more creative puzzles, but then you're also this big badass that can literally just destroy anything they want. And I think from the trailer I watched, they nailed that. She just literally just came down with a sledgehammer and squashed this person they vaporized. It was amazing.
I'm into that.
Right? It reminded me of Martha, the Scythe lady from LS2.
Oh, God.
Right?
I don't like that comparison. Sounds accurate, though.
Right? Maybe she is Fury.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the game. I know that Darksiders is funny. It's a game I've played. I've played both of the first 2. Never beat either of them. So, but they're fun games. I don't know why I never finished them. So this might give me some encouragement to go back and try to finish the first 2.
Right. Yeah, I never played the first one at all. But then on the Wii U, it was on sale for like 90% off, and I'm like, well, I might as well. It's practically free at this point. And then like that ended up being one of my first favorite games on the console. So yeah. Is Darksiders like that popular, or like how come I didn't even know Darksiders 3 was coming out next month until I looked at the list?
It's honestly probably one of the best franchises that no one seems to talk about.
Okay, so it's just kind of
really
a
good, but no one seems
hidden
to care.
gem.
Yeah. It's kind of a cult game, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But yeah. So.
All right, Mike, you want to bring us on with probably the biggest release of this month?
Yeah, so this is a pretty big one. I don't know if we're going to have a long discussion because I know this one's probably more of a me-type game than anything, but we'll see. And that's Fallout 76. This one is so interesting because I have so many mixed emotions about this one. I can't help but be excited about a Fallout release, or any Bethesda release, really. The thing is, before I even get into that game, Elder Scrolls Online is a hit, but it's also kind of a miss. As far as MMOs go, it's weirdly done. It's gotten better, but it also requires you to buy so many expansion packs at this point that for it to be a fun experience, it costs a good amount of money. So with that, it makes me nervous because Fallout's so great because it's an apocalyptic, empty wasteland, right? And that's kind of the vibe of it. And so when they originally announced this game's an MMO, it made me incredibly nervous because that's not what Fallout's about. Fallout's about an empty world that you sort of explore. You see sort of the aftermath of a nuclear war. And so if there's like hundreds of people running around, well, that's not going to feel like that, you know? But they took some very good steps to making sure that it does feel right. And so if everything they're saying holds true, I think it could work great. The first thing they said is the servers. There's going to be hundreds and thousands of servers floating around. You'll always be in different ones. The servers are constantly changing and they're dynamic. And you will never have more than 24 people in your world at once. So that's not a huge number, and that's actually a pretty solid number because they said there's very, very few NPCs in the game. So in that massive world you're exploring, there's only about 20 other people exploring it with you. So you'll run into people, but not very often. So it's still going to feel like an empty wasteland, which I think was a smart decision, doing it that way. On top of that, you have to be connected to online all the time. It's an MMO, but you don't have to play online, if that makes sense. You can still do the whole game solo and do the story stuff. The game is probably better experienced as an MMO because that's how it was designed, but you don't have to do the MMO stuff. You do have to have an internet connection.
So it's like an optional MMO? That's interesting. Okay. I'm digging it.
Yeah, because it can just be like a solo playthrough. Because I think Todd Howard, when he was making the game, kind of knew Fallout's supposed to be sort of a single-player experience. I think the reason he put the MMO aspect in it is because he wanted that randomness, you know? I think he wanted more chaos in his game. I think it was kind of the whole idea of it. So, and I think also the money that was made off of Elder Scrolls Online and the success of that game was probably, that probably didn't hurt either. I'm sure that made him want to do another MMO. But this one's interesting because I've never seen an MMO like this where they've, it's not a massively multiplayer online game. It's almost like I don't know, what's the opposite of massive? I guess small? Very limited multiplayer online, I guess,
MMO,
right?
non-massive multiplayer online.
Yeah, because that's really what it is. It's just a few players online, and I think that's a cool idea. And they were smart, they didn't want you exploring to get ruined by a character coming and randomly blowing you up, right? Because that kind of ruins the fun of a game. If out of nowhere this overpowered douchebag just comes and blows up your whole, unit. So
that's exactly what I was thinking.
But the problem with some MMO type games is that if you die, you have to restart. You lose all your stuff and you re-go. That's how a lot of survival games work. This game is a softcore survival, which just means if you die, you'll respawn, but you'll still have all your level progression, you'll have all your items. So dying in this isn't a super big deal, which means that if a character does come and kill you and completely ruin your day, it's not a major problem because you still have all your stuff. It's just kind of a minor nuisance at worst. So the one thing they did mention, I don't remember the exact details. I want to say it was the rocket launcher. I don't remember what the weapon's called, and it's really bothering me. Something about baby or atomic. Fat Man, that's what it was. And I want to say they're giving certain codes that you can do to make this nuclear launch thing happen, which does worry some people because, people are worried that the MMO thing is going to drastically alter the story. And that little rocket launcher thing where they make a nuclear explosion that can blow up all the work you've been doing does make people kind of nervous because the settlements is the big thing, right? And I feel like I'm trailing on different topics here, but you build your own settlements and people can tear them down. They can sort of invade you, and I think that's something that a lot of people are worried about, is I don't want to build up this big town only to have it ruined by some douchebag that has a rocket launcher,
That would be me.
Yeah, and I would, it's like when I put lava in Matt's Minecraft house and he had a heart attack.
Okay, you know what? Who here hasn't put lava in a house?
That's fair. But then when you have a friend as uptight as Matt,
That's the person you always do it to.
Right, you think he would learn, but he never learns.
Yeah. Do you know if you can make parties in, in the MMO? So, if all of us got it, could we squad up and literally just tear down villages at a time?
I don't know. See, I think, funny enough, that's one of the other things people were worried about too, is that, you would have a group of people that would just gang together and then, sort of take over. So with friends, I don't know. I'd imagine there'd be some way for us to play together because that'd make it more fun.
Right. But then you also run into that problem of people can be dicks because, let's be serious, that would be one of our objectives. And, if we all streamed it, it would be who can we just make miserable today?
Right, and I think that's the fear of people playing the game is from douchebags like us.
Yeah.
So I wonder what Bethesda's going to do about that. Maybe they're you can't do that. I'm not sure about. They're going to have a beta come out soon, and I think we'll learn a lot more when the beta starts for this game. By the time this goes up, the beta probably already happened because I think it happens in less than a week or something. So by then, we'll probably already know actually how it went. But I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting because they're doing their best to make this MMO feel like a solo survival game, which
that's cool.
I like that they're doing it that way, but it'll be interesting to see if it works or not.
Yeah, hopefully they do it right and it all works. And yeah, that rocket launcher thing sounds like an issue because that would totally be one of my first objectives is get all the codes and just nuke something.
Right. Which,
I feel like in Fallout and whatnot, I feel like they want to have it where there's some troll potential, but nothing that can ruin somebody else's experience.
Right. And I think as long as you can find that fine line there, I think it'll work great. There's just a couple of aspects that a little bit worrisome, but we'll see.
A little bit suspect.
Yeah, but I mean, my big thing too is I love the story of these games. I'm hoping that this MMO thing is not gonna damage the story in any way.
Right.
Yeah.
Because MMOs usually are pretty light on the story side of things.
Because it's impossible to make a
Yeah.
big story out. Like RuneScape probably did the best, and can you tell me what the story was there?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
hit
And same with
stuff.
like World of Warcraft, you know? Like World of
Are you
Warcraft has
kidding
some
me? The
pretty cool
story of
stuff.
RuneScape. Oh, sorry, go on, Mike. I'm
No,
going to tell
I'm
Travis what the story of RuneScape is in a second. I got it.
The whole point is,
All right.
MMOs don't have great stories. Hopefully this one does. The end.
Oh yeah, I agree. Travis, the story of RuneScape is Nick makes you armor and then you die and lose your armor. That's what the story of RuneScape is, Travis. Because I was a blacksmith. I made every freaking armor and they always lost it because I died. I was pissed, man.
I was always the master
like
of cutting
level
down
40.
trees. That was my thing, because
Nice.
I just cut down every tree. But,
All right.
are there any honorable mentions? I have a couple that...
Actually, I do need to point this out because we actually mentioned them in former videos. This is the actual month because I think it was because of the physical and digital release for the Spyro Reignited trilogy. Now it's going to be released in November. So we mentioned all that stuff that we said back then. Like it looks really nice. It's like the original 3 Spyro games, so it's one that was actually made by Insomniac. I'm not sure if Insomniac Games had a lot of insight or a lot of say after the original 3. The original 3 were the ones that people probably agree on are the best. So I think that's probably one of the big releases that people have been waiting for. And again, one of the reasons why it was probably delayed was because of the fact they weren't including all 3 games on the actual disc itself. I don't know why. They're pretty stupid about that, but not the point. The other big one that's probably happening is Battlefield 5. I've said it before. Again, people know my feelings about EA. Don't want to focus on that. I want to focus more on their take of World War II and to see if that's going to hurt them, because it seems like some of the decisions they're making, at least in telling World War II or their interpretation of World War II, is very suspect and can probably piss people off if especially they want to be immersed in the game itself. So solo player, I'm sure multiplayer wise people aren't going to give a crap, but solo story wise, like I'm sure people will notice and people are going to be like, well, that's a pretty dumb decision because that's not how World War II happened. But hey, I'm just one person, But those are probably the big honorable mentions right there. If you guys have some more, please add them. But those are probably the 2 big ones that got delayed and that'll be set to release.
The game I want to mention is Warframe coming out on Switch. It's a free game. I honestly have no idea what the hell the story is, but it's free. So what harm is it in downloading it and testing it out? I know I played it on my computer for a little bit, and I think my internet was just being poopy, and I just stopped playing it. And I have so many other games because I keep buying 1,000,002 of them. But like the game was pretty cool. I remember running around with a sword and killing people. So that's always fun. But then I know it's also a shooter, so hopefully those goes good. Like it could be a stream where we just run around, and I don't know if it's co-op or whatever, but that has potential. And then there was also a game called Grip, which was a racing game. It kind of looked like a more realistic Mario Kart, but instead of throwing shells at each other, it's actually shooting you with missiles.
There you
so
go.
if you want to change the pace, it was literally everything was Mario Kart, only it was like more of a tank type of car that you're driving, and then missiles instead of shells and fun stuff. But like they all kind of seemed, for what I was able to notice, the same functionality of the different items in Mario Kart. So
sounds interesting.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was coming off
Mike,
on all platforms, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any ones that you were thinking of?
Do not have any.
All right, cool. Then we're going to end this right here with all of our games that we talked about. Again, not a huge month. Wait, no, I'm wrapping this up. Mike, this is your job. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, well,
fire him.
You did a pretty good job, though. You're done, man.
Thank you.
No. But like Erik was saying, it's not like a huge month. I think there's a couple pretty high quality like series coming out, like Fallout 76 and Pokemon. It's just, the number of them coming out is not as insane as it was last month, where we all had to like freak out and do like 3 or 4 games each. We got a couple of good ones and then a couple of smaller ones, which I kind of like this better. We spotlight games that are not as well known. It's not all AAA huge titles, so Yeah. But there's a couple of good games, so if there's any that you're going to buy, let us know in the comment section below. If there's a game we didn't talk about that you think looks like a lot of fun, let us know too. We're always looking for new games to learn about and play, so please do that. And if you thought Travis did a really bad job, please let him know, because he needs to get better. Let's be honest here.
I do take
thanks.
notes and cry at night, so.
He did at the same time.
I do too, man.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.